What's up, guys? It is Sunday, December 17th, 2017, and I want to make a quick video to show you some of the other tools that I use to get my information about cryptocurrency, and also to look at a couple interesting articles that I found recently. So yesterday I made a video about CoinMarketCow, which is one of the preeminent websites for checking the whole cryptocurrency space, but I found a site yesterday called Live Coin Watch. And this is I think it's a little bit more digestible and a little bit easier to understand. And it also updates live. So you can change the refresh rate to every second. And it'll be kind of popping off here in a moment. You can see all the action updating by the second or all the way up to every minute, which I think is a little bit easier to handle. Maybe a happy medium is 10 or 30 seconds, but as you can see, everything is live and it aggregates from a number of different exchanges. You have the chart is much more prominently featured. You have easy to understand volume and price indicators here. And it shows basically all the same information, but I like the way it's organized a lot better than CoinMarketCow, and I think it looks nicer. It's still in development, and there's a Reddit where you can suggest different additions that they're going to make to the code, but this is my new favorite go-to. You can also change the lighting situation here. Their night mode is much better than CoinMarketCow's night mode. There's also this site called CoinMarketCow, and this is a calendar which is really cool because it shows you not only the news that is supposedly coming out for these different coins and these different projects, but it has this part down here that says proof. For example, this photo is a picture of the Twitter from Substratum, which I'm talking about in an upcoming video that I'm going to get out tomorrow. But talks about, it shows you proof of what they're actually claiming to be happening, and then it actually has a place down here where people within the community can vote on whether or not it's fake or real. And of course, it's very blockchain, if you ask me. It's very blockchain to have a distributed validation system. Still, take things with a grain of salt. Nothing is official till it's official, but it's really cool that they had set this up. And this can actually be really good for trying to get ahead of trends in this market before they pop off. Because a lot of these news announcements will cause definite jumps in price, or the opposite. It depends on if we're talking about good news or bad news here. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. This is an article from Nasdaq, and surprisingly, it is not taking a shit on Bitcoin. It's basically saying that actually Bitcoin isn't a bubble, it is an S-curve. And basically the S-curve is just what happens for the adoption of new technology. So rather than it all happening at sort of a steady state and tapering off at the same rate, what the S-curve is basically, it's like a gradual lead and only a few people are getting involved, and then next thing you know, it flies up in adoption and nearly everyone is involved. And I think that, personally, I think Bitcoin is close to that. I think if it is an S-curve, we're kind of in this stage right here. We're on the way up. We're not quite heading straight up in terms of adoption yet, because truthfully, and I'll show you this chart, this is really cool, adoption of technology in the United States. For example, what you'll see is that with all of these technologies, they reached a pretty high level of adoption, nearly 100 for many. And as time goes on, the adoption rate is much, much steeper. But I think Bitcoin and the blockchain and cryptocurrencies do have a lot of challenges. Again, making a video about the challenges that they truly do face. They have adoption challenges because they are very difficult to understand for a lot of people. And they're very complex. There are a lot of different moving pieces. They have kind of a bad reputation. So there are a lot of things that are going to I guess, dampen the adoption curve. But I still think that it's true that it's not a bubble, it's the beginning of a sort of wave of adoption. And that's why, I've been in this market for a while now, and usually what you see when there is such a massive influx in price and in market cap over the course of a period of time. Usually there's a crash, but we have been safely over 500 billion for a long time now. One of my favorite statistics about this entire market is that it took 8 years to go from $0 in market cap, basically from the minute that Bitcoin was invented, 8 years to go from 0 to 100 billion. Then it took 6 months to go from 100 billion to 200 billion. Then it took 24 days to go from 200 to 300 billion. And then it took like a couple weeks to go from 300 to 450. And now we're at almost 600 billion merely, 10 days later. So it is, I think it's reaching this point, which is actually talked about in this article as well, which is kind of this guy, David Bailey, tweeted about it being the Bitcoin Eternal September, which is sort of cultural shorthand for a point where this growth that usually drops off just doesn't drop off because enough people have gotten involved. It first came from when AOL first came out, and initially AOL and the Usenet only had access granted to universities and colleges, and eventually they opened their doors to pretty much everyone. So there used to be this big adoption peak at the beginning of college, every college year, and then it would settle down. But then they opened up the floodgates, and the average person was able to get onto AOL. And that same September peak happened, but it never tapered off. And it really feels like that's where we are with the amount of attention that Bitcoin has been getting recently. And of course, there are still going to be a lot of people that don't understand it or hate on it. And believe me, I've been experiencing that in the YouTube comments, and not in my videos yet anyway, but definitely been seeing a lot of that. But there are a massive number of people that have been, getting involved. Instagram had less downloads last week than Coinbase. It's pretty crazy. And the other thing is, part of me looks at these prices and, to be honest, says it is a little bit of a bubble. Like, I can't even deny it. Like, some of these lines are really insane. They're crazy steep, and I think that there will be price corrections, like we saw with IOTA, for example. IOTA last week went from basically $1 to $5, and in the matter of days, and now it's settling out at around 360. So it still is, massively more expensive than it was a couple weeks ago, but it has come down from its crazy high. So I think that will happen with a lot of these coins and with the market overall. But for the most part, it's not gonna crash below previous levels. It's going to settle maybe 10-15%. And again, the longer that this goes on, the longer this market continues its trail, and the more people that get involved, the less volatile it will become, because more people will be getting involved. Then the weak hands will sell, because they'll get scared if it drops a little bit. If you buy at 20,000 and it goes to 19.5, you're probably going to be a little scared, and also you're relatively new. So things shake out, and then more people that are actually understanding the whole system and actually believe in it buy, and so it strengthens. It comes back up with a more dedicated base. So I think the volatility will continue to reduce, but basically it's not a bubble. And if it is a bubble, it's because everything is a bubble right now. I watched a whole video series by a guy named Mike Maloney about how we're in the bubble of everything. We've had in previous years, like, there was a Forex bubble, there was the real estate bubble, obviously in 2008, the subprime mortgage bubble, and now it just seems like everything is in a bubble. And it's scary to say, obviously, but there's a lot of evidence that everything is overvalued. The stock market is at crazy highs, but it's like we're in the middle of what's called a jobless recovery. So it seems like the combination of, there being really cheap money in the form of low interest rates, which of course just got raised by the Fed, and this feeling like, it always happens in a bubble that everyone feels like it could never come down. I think we're going to be possibly pretty upset if we're not careful. So there isn't any completely safe investment, but I do think that as long as you're going to be putting your money out there, you might as well be shooting for the highest returns. So that's why I'm involved in crypto and not in stocks or in other investments. So I hope that these articles and these tools help you guys out. And if you like the video, I'm going to continue to make videos. This is a kind of a twist on my daily video. I'm always researching and finding new stuff, so I'm going to be kind of covering more news, I think, than anything else from these daily videos anyway, news and prices. So if you like the video, hit like, smash the like button, as I say, subscribe, share it with anybody that might want to take a look at some of this stuff, and we'll see you in the next one.